What's going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, we'll be going over that win against the Sydney Swans. So let's run that intro, jump straight into it. Just before we do jump straight into it, don't forget to sub to all my different channels. So you got my Twitch is Swoop Luke, Instagram Swoop Luke, Twitter Swoop Luke, and TikTok Swoop Luke. And if you're just new to the Swoop Luke YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notifications whenever I upload. And if you're a returning Swooper, welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining me. So anyway, let's just get straight into this game. So after 2 weeks of absolute shithousery by the Pies, getting smashed by West Coast, losing to a 17th Fremantle, we took on the 16th placed Sydney Swans up at the Gabba. Conditions were as good as any. We were going in with not a near full strength team. There was a couple of changes throughout, still no Pendlebury and stuff like that, but we were going in with a team that, showed that we wanted to, smash this game and have a bit of a percentage booster, but as you're all aware, that didn't happen at all. What we ended up getting was a very, 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 very scrappy first half, kicking 2 goals, 10. The first quarter was just a total write-off. We kicked six behind, so not even a goal. We pride ourselves on first quarters. We haven't lost a first quarter this season, but that was the second time we've drawn a first quarter. 6 behinds, and Sydney kicked 1 goal straight. What happened was just our inside 50 were absolutely terrible. There's been a lot of talk about how our forwards aren't kicking goals, but later on in this video, I'm going to show you some inside 50s that I think, need to be brought up and what I would do in this sort of situation. But you can see why our forwards aren't kicking goals, because the inside 50s are deplorable. We had, I think, 15 or 16 inside 50s alone in that first quarter for 6 behinds, and just really bad mistakes. Sydney sweepers coming in, picking them off, and their free men and stuff like that. We just have to be smarter going forward. Last episode, I talked about the connection between the midfield and the forward line, and it wasn't really there until that third quarter where we kicked a couple of goals after Sydney had kicked I think it was 4 in a row or 5 in a row. And there you go. There's another sequentially scored goals that we keep letting teams get ahead of us in. And at one point, Sydney were up by a couple of goals, and we had to really peg it back. It wasn't until Jamie Elliott kicked that goal right on the halftime siren that we got our second goal for the match. In the second half, we did start to turn things around. Sydney only kicked 1 goal for that second half. We kicked 4 goals, but we ended up finishing the game 6 goals, 14. Even though Sydney only kicked 1 goal, we still had to get ourselves back into the game, and Sydney were always threatening to run over the top of us if given the chance. But thankfully, our senior players stood up and we were able to come away with the win. During that last quarter, Sydney kicked a goal about 1/3 of the way through, and the margin was only 3 points for a very, very, very long time until that amazing Dacos snap. And we've all seen the footage and stuff, but just keep watching it. It is absolutely amazing, phenomenal, ridiculous, and that's what, obviously won us the game. Just Sydney had to kick 2 goals, and that was never going to happen with 2-3 minutes left on the clock. So as always, there's a lot to like about this game and a lot to dislike about this game, but we're going to start off with the likes, and I'll get the most obvious one out of the way. Josh Dacos has really come into his own this season. I'll put my hand up. I was one of those people that were really not writing him off to the point where I didn't want to see him on the list anymore, because I know obviously he has potential, but I was questioning whether he would be in our best 22 this season because of what he had put up last season. But as people on Twitter and on social media talk about, everyone matures at their own age while playing football. The same can be said for the 2 Brown brothers, who will come into their own eventually, because we know they can. They've shown glimpses of it. But now Josh Dacos has really definitely come into his own. And I'll see him at the end of the season winning our most improved player award that that they give out to those sort of players. So Josh Dacos and that goal, obviously, Jesus, that's the ultimate like. That goal was absolutely nuts. I can't stop thinking about it. It was so good. It was absolutely so good. Another thing I did like was how Taylor Adams went about his game. He gathered about 29 disposals, and there has been a lot of talk about his disposal efficiency. He went at 45%, and look, that's obviously no good. So for half of those disposals, or less than half of those disposals, they just absolutely just chuck him in the bin. But what he did bring was he gathered over 450 meters going forward, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's so good. He was breaking lines off half back, through the centre, a bunch of clearances, a bunch of marks. So what he does bring is that grunt and that force. The disposals that he's not efficient in could be ones that just, when he's getting tackled, they come off the boot or whatever. And yeah, okay, it's a couple of mishitted targets. But, a bunch of clearances, like I said. 3 rebounds from inside 50, 2 inside 50s. It's just, I love the way he's going about it at the moment. This season, he's really, really, really stepped up, and he's starting to assert himself on games more. I was pretty harsh on him during that West Coast game. He didn't really stand up, but he was a standing captain with 30 seconds before the bounce, so probably was a bit of a shock to the system. But this game, he really stood up, and you know me, I absolutely love Taylor Adams. Another thing I liked was Trey Rusco in that forward line. So we recruited him as a bit of a utility, recruited off halfback. He played predominantly in the forward line against Sydney, and I said that on my preview, which would have been Wednesday or whenever that preview went up, probably Tuesday night or whatever. I said that we would put him as a deep forward, very quick off the mark, good hands, good kick at goal. He kicked that first goal, ended up with 1-3, so he could have got 2 or 3 goals. But in saying that, he could be that spark that we need. You remember in 2018, Stevenson, DeGoey, Mychek, all relatively new. Well, DeGoey's been in the system for a while, but Mychek and Stevenson relatively new on the scene, in a forward line that was uncontrollable. Will Hoskin-Elliott, Josh Thomas, Checkers, DeGoey, and Stevenson. No one really knew what was happening. This year, we've come a little bit more predictable. Maybe Rusco can bring that unpredictability to our forward line, bringing us back to that 2018 sort of glory forward line. So just like there's a lot of things to like, there's a lot of things to dislike. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't start off with the biggest thing. 50 inside 50s for 23 scoring shots. Finished the game 6 goals, 14. Finished the half 2 goals, 10, thanks to a Jamie Elliott goal after the siren at halftime. This is a major problem with us. I've mentioned it at the start of the video. This has been happening too often. The guys are just bombing it in. The midfielders are just bombing it in. And there's absolutely no connection between the forwards and the mids. The mids are acting like we've got, 4 or 5 huge, tall Mason Cox type players that they're going to put it on their head and they're going to put their arms up and mark it. That game plan would work if we did have Mason Cox in the side, bigger than anybody on the absolute field, but we don't. So there's no point bombing it in long, hoping for the best, when we know that Sydney flood their backline. We know that they play free players, like you can see coming up. And I think that we just have to go back to basics. Lower the eyes and just hit easy targets, Sometimes we overhandball it. Sometimes we just hold on the ball too long and just bomb it long and in hope. It doesn't work like that, especially with our forwards at the moment. Lower your eyes, chip away at it, and then hit targets. If you have to have a shot from 50 because there's no targets on, have the shot from 50. Worst case, it gets to the top of the goal square, and then you're able to make a 50-50 ball. Other than bombing it in long, Sydney market, they go on the counter attack. Lower the eyelids and hit a goddamn target. Another thing that I absolutely hated, of course we all hated it, were those 3 injuries to 3 really important players. Adam Treloar goes down with a hamstring. That's 3 or 4 weeks out. We know Adam Treloar has soft tissue injuries all the time now. He's got soft tissue problems. That could be due to the condensed fixture. We played a game off a 4-day break, and we're going to do the exact same thing when we travel to Adelaide. So that was down to the condensed fixture. The Will Hoskin-Elliott one and the Isaac Quaynor one was just absolute bad luck and bad management by the AFL for letting players wear the boots. I know it's not just Sydney that are wearing the boots. I know it's throughout the AFL, but it happened to be a Sydney player that opened that gash on Quaynor's leg, and that accidentally stomped on Will Hoskin-Elliott's knee. But those are just really unfortunate injuries. Something that we will cover for. Will Hoskin-Elliott might only be gone for 1 or 2 weeks, whereas Quaynor, they're saying a few weeks. He was stitched up, stayed overnight. They have to, inspect the wound and stuff. But it was on like the shin, like right in the middle, where a lot of the muscle is, So when you're running, your foot's doing this, right? So you got to think that shin has got a lot of tendons in it, and that was cut deep. So my educated guess would be a month and a bit, Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it is 2 or 3 weeks. But I think educated be a month and a half to 2 months, because there will have to be rehab for that. The scars will be tender when he comes back. He'll probably end up playing with shin pads and stuff, which would be pretty smart. But still, I think it's about a 2-month injury. So yeah, absolutely hate that to see injuries happen to any player throughout the AFL, but obviously more so that it's Collingwood. Another thing that I didn't like was that we won every major stat category. Usually when we win hitouts and we win the clearances, as long as with the hitouts, we smash the game. That didn't happen. So you can see that connection between the mids, who are winning the ball now, and the forwards isn't a thing. There's your evidence there. What am I looking at? 33 hitouts for 33 clearances and 27 stoppage. So out of those 33 clearances, 27 of those were through the stoppage. So you can see that we are getting first hands to the ball. We're just not using it well. So for this section, I usually talk about where the game was won, lost, or drawn. But what I want to do is I want to go through a little bit of footage and talk through some things that were happening in the first and second quarter that I think we can improve on. I just wanted to make mention of it. Someone mentioned it in YouTube comments that they want to see a little bit more footage and a little bit of me dissecting the game, and I absolutely love doing that. So we're going to jump into that right now. Okay, so this first one here is Adam Treloar taking the mark from an errant kick from Sydney. So if I pause it here, you can see that he's already looking to pass it off to someone, and John Noble could probably receive this ball here. And if you look straight, we've got Will Hoskin-Elliott on all fours, because he's had his leg stamped on or his knee stamped on right there. And you can see that to the top of the goal square sort of thing, you've got one free Sydney player there. Everyone is man on man. So in this sort of situation, you look at passing it to Noble and chipping it around. You got Sidebottom running over there, because you don't want to go to that gap. There's not a lot of tall players there. There's an extra 1 or 2 Sydney players, especially with Will Hoskin-Elliott down. But let's see what Adam Treloar does. So Adam Treloar kicks it. Bit of a shitty kick. Goes right onto... I'll just pause it there. Goes right onto Will Hoskin-Elliott's head. And you can see that there's... The players are slow to react. And there's 2 Sydney Swans players that are going to grab this ball. In that situation, that really didn't have to happen. Treloar could have just chipped it around. We could have gone top of the goal square via some other way, or a shot from 50. I will mention that Taylor Adams does get the free kick here, but he misses. Stevenson kicking it off into Jamie Elliott, who's going to just pop it long, pops it in, and there you go, bang. So we'll just go back a little bit. Already you can see that there's a bunch of Sydney players here, and if I pause it here, you got that one free Sydney player who's going to pick it off. Dacos can't get to that contest. Rusco won't be able to get there either. And there's that free Sydney player from a quick inside 50 entry that just doesn't go anywhere. And then Sydney get the ball back. So that's the sort of inside 50 entries that we can't afford to do. That's why I'm saying that we need to lower our eyes a little bit. This is a really good kick here. And I'll just pause it right there. Treloar has to be reacting quicker. You can see Mychek tell him Josh Thomas is free. Sorry, not Josh Thomas. You can see Mychek telling him that Jaden Stevenson is free here. So all Treloar has to do is push back really quick, get it over the top to Jaden Stevenson. Now let's look what happens. I'm just going to pause it here. So another option for Treloar right here is to go to Brody Majek, who's free, short kick, and that gets us a bit closer to goal. So let's play the video and see what happens next. He's playing with the ball, and bang, errant kick inside 50, picked off by 2-3 Sydney Swans players. It comes back out, and then over the line. So that's 2 Adam Treloar efforts in the first quarter that absolutely went nowhere, and he just has to be smarter with his inside 50s. So Jordan Roughhead takes the mark here, trying to assess his options. And you can see that Tom Phillips, I'll pause it here, Tom Phillips tries to lead up. Could have been an easy kick there. But what Jordan Roughhead's going to do now is he's going to go for the lower percentage over the top to Jaden Stevenson. And you can tell that Sydney player on Phillips knows what Jordan Roughhead is going to do, because this is what happens now. He pulls off Tom Phillips, and he takes that mark because Stevenson couldn't read the ball properly. And then 3 Sydney players, because we were on the attacking side. No one is accountable for those 2 Sydney players that are running towards goal. That's a perfect kick, and that's a goal to Sydney. Anyway, guys, we do verse Adelaide in a couple of days, so hopefully, we don't hand them their first win, but if we keep playing a little bit like this, we may. But let's look at the positive. We are only 4 points off the top 4. And, okay, if results go our way with the Richmond game or the GWS game or the Freo game, we'll be sitting in second place. But it is what it is, and we're not sitting in second place. So we can only look to the future from here on in. But in saying that, the top 8, which we have pretty much versed everyone except for Port Adelaide and Brisbane, all start versing themselves now. So they're bound to drop games and drop points. We verse the bottom 10 sides now, or thereabouts. So we should be able to gain points. People on top of us lose. We could finish in the top 4 by season's end if we start pulling up our socks and playing the Collingwood brand of football. Alright guys, so that's enough for this review. It's probably going on a little bit too long at the moment. So, in the meantime, like, comment, subscribe. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.
Ooh la la.
Not really. Fuck, what am I saying, dude? Crazy game, so let's just... Fuck, nah. God damn. That win against the Sydney Swans. Oh, so it's fucking me up.